Hi, everyone. This is Julie. Welcome back to Fearless Funnels. This is a decision support podcast for people evaluating if FG Funnels is right for them. And today I want to tackle the concern, angst, annoyance around migration, specifically talking about the philosophy of migration when you have decided on purchasing FG Funnels and you're like, oh my gosh, overwhelmed at the idea of moving everything. First and foremost, this is the philosophy of migration that we have adopted that we think is really the only way to do a migration sanely, especially if you've got a lot of data out there on the internet right now. When you purchase a forever home software like FG Funnels, the instinct, the urge, we might even call it an irresistible urge to quickly move everything over is going to be very, very intense because we like things organized and clean. I mean, not all of us, but most of us do. We feel like the more organized our system is, the more organized our brain is, the more money that we can make. And we also know that once everything is moved over, we can then cancel a bunch of stuff, and that immediately puts money back in our pocket. So to say, hey, purchase this new software, but don't move anything, probably sounds pretty counterintuitive. But I want you to kind of hear me out before you haul off and do exactly what I say not to do. First, we need to Marie Kondo our digital crap. We have so much digital clutter. We don't see it as clutter because we don't actually see it in our homes, but a lot of our life is digital now, a lot. And if you've been around the block, you probably have way more digital clutter than you realize. Or maybe you do realize and it's stressing you out. But think about like your downloads folder or your Google Drive or, God forbid, your inbox, right? Digital clutter can be very stressful. I often tell people that digital bankruptcy is your friend. And I talk about this in like email organization, for example. If you are overwhelmed that you have 55,365 messages that you have not, dealt with, make a folder called Inbox Bankruptcy 2026. Put every single message in there. And if in 6 months you don't go back into that folder, that means you didn't really need anything and you can just delete it. I wish I could say the same thing for people who are scattered on 15 different tools. You know what? Just put all of those tools in one folder. And if you don't touch them for 6 months, don't worry about it. But it's really true that we tend to hoard and hold on to digital data that is not actually making us money and probably is stressing us out because we think, well, what if I need it later? Or what if this link, for this opt-in or free gift is somewhere out there on a podcast or a summit and I can't get rid of it now? I see traffic coming, but I have no idea where it is. And I have no idea where it's coming from, right? And this is often what we have. Also, when people migrate immediately after buying, they're basically taking a whole bunch of tools they know and putting them into a tool they don't yet know. Bad idea, because you're going to learn a lot about that tool over the first month or two, and maybe even longer. And what will happen is over time, as you get more comfortable with the tool, you're going to start to see use cases that maybe you didn't see before. And if you just migrate everything right away, it's going to feel clunky and frustrating. If you can manage it, I want you to sit on your hands and not cancel any tool when you sign up for FG Funnels right away. And you might think, well, Julie, then what's the point? I'm not saving any money. There are many tools that you can go on a pause plan if you want, but I recommend that instead of moving everything, you think about what is the highest leverage activity you can do. Let's say you have a coaching program, okay? And that is the bulk of your revenue. Well, what you want to do is say, all right, I've got, let's say 10 or 20 clients in this existing system, and it's got 5 different tools and it's a client portal. It's all messy. Instead of worrying about migrating those, 10 or 20 clients into the new tool, I want you to just build the new system quietly. Leave everything as is. Go build it quietly. And you can actually do a lot of building in FG Funnels without a domain. Now, you can't publish it, but you can do it without a domain. I just bought a domain a couple weeks ago and it was a premium domain, and I did not have like the actual physical access to the domain because it was in escrow. But I was able to build 2 websites that I was going to link to this domain, and I was able to build them without having the domain available. I didn't have to do anything. And you can do the same thing. You can build out your funnels or your websites, and that's fine. Once they are ready and they are done and you are comfortable with it, then you have a decision to make. You can decide, am I going to unhook the domain from the system that works and move it over, and then get all my old people in and then start my new people? Or you can do what I call is the Enneagram 6 way to do things, which is I am highly risk averse. I don't want to mess anything up. What I do is I buy a junk domain. It's $10. Who cares? In the big grand scheme of things, my anxiety is worth $10. If I have a domain, let's say it's juliechanel.com, and that's running my current system, I'm going to buy juliechanel.me or juliechanel.ai or whatever. I'm going to buy it for $10, which you can buy the domain right in FG Funnels. You don't even have to buy it outside of it. You don't have to worry about importing it. I'm going to buy that domain, and I'm going to make sure the domain kind of matches, right? So, for example, when I was moving into FG Funnels, I had digitalinsidersmastermind.com that was holding things. So I bought the domain digitalinsidersmastermind.co. That was my, quote, junk domain. I got the entire system working on digitalinsidersmastermind.co, and I actually started onboarding new people in that system. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, you got 2 dual systems. Exactly. And I started getting new people in, which was great because I started to see, okay, this is how the system works. And then once I knew the system worked, I could then turn my attention to the existing clients and say, okay, we're moving. And I focused on that instead of moving clients and setting up something new and learning the new tool all at the same time. So I moved those clients over. Once they were in the new system on the funky domain, I then finally unhooked the original domain and swapped it out. That is the safe, stress-free way to migrate. And I did that with one system, right? One program, one offer. That's working. I've got new customers coming in. I've got the old customers moved. You know what was funny is I never actually got rid of the junk domain. I just used it. And then I took the original domain and I just redirected it. I didn't even swap it out. I was so lazy. And then you go and you say, okay, what's the next thing on my list? Maybe I'm going to look at my opt-ins. Maybe I'm going to look at my, webinar funnel or what have you. That is the philosophy of migration that we recommend. And if you are nervous about carrying multiple subscriptions at once, ask if there is a pause plan that you can enact. Usually what that does is it allows you to keep your customer data and everything in there, and it's much less expensive. It's like $10 a month or whatever. Can't build anything new, but that could be an option as you temporarily make this migration. That is the philosophy that we ascribe to because we believe that most people are distracted and have too much digital clutter. And in the next few episodes, I'm going to go more into detail about the migration process because there are a lot of questions here, and I want to make sure that you're given all the right information you need.